Today on Brilliance Business TV, we have Munur Shah, creator of Rebel Therapies. Stay tuned. Welcome to Brilliance Business TV, conversations with leading experts in business. I am your host, Mark Stephen Pooler. We have a wonderful guest on the show today, Munur Shah, all about screen addiction, a great topic that I'm sure we're all guilty of at some point. We are streaming live on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube. We're also on the 360 TV network, going out to Apple TV, Fire, Android, Roku, and many more. We're also on Business Innovators Radio Network. We're also on USA Global Radio, Television and TV Network, and we're also on mspnewsglobal.com. I have so many to remember there. That's why I'm getting mixed up with my words. Let's bring in our incredible guest, Munur Shah. Munur, welcome to Brilliance Business TV.
Hi, Mark. Thanks for having me on.
I'm looking forward to a conversation with you.
Yeah, absolutely. And we all are absolutely, what you said earlier, guilty of looking at our screens far too much.
We certainly are. So let's get started with our first question. What led you to create Rebel Therapies and specifically the Combat Screen Addiction course?
Well, I think that it came sort of many years ago when probably around 2016. I saw myself being very much addicted to screens, especially to my phone, and spent a lot of time, I suppose, away from my family, looking at my phone, looking at the screen, scrolling, doom scrolling, just constantly looking at stuff. And then when I came off, I felt really annoyed with myself. I'd lost so many hours, and it impacted every moment of my day, whether it was morning or night. And at night it was worse, where I'd just sit there and scroll and it would be sort of 2 or 3 hours would go by, and then realize it's nearly 2 or 3 a.m. in the morning and I have to get up and go to work. So I just really wanted to understand why I was being pulled. What was the reason for me to go and spend that much time on my phone? And the other side of it was my children. They were also very much addicted. So they had their smartphones, and my son was addicted to gaming. And it was just, I felt like the whole family unit was breaking down. And that to me was just concerning. And so I really wanted to understand the science of why was I being drawn to my screen? Why are our children being drawn to their screens? What's the underlying nature of it? Over and above how we feel and what makes us look at our screens, but really the science, was there something sort of more sinister, I suppose, in the background that was pulling us towards our screens? And so I went on this sort of rampage of research, and to see if I could, one, help myself, and then also how I could help my children. And that was amazing, sort of over the last 8 years, what I've learned, what I've understood around screens and screen addiction, and how it sort of almost compels us to want to pick up the phone, and how we've been conditioned to pick up a phone or an iPad or a tablet. But also, on the gaming side, shopping, gambling, all of it, it all sort of is encompassed by behavioral change that's happening to us. So once I understood all of that, I then decided to try different techniques, and I'm a coach and an NLP practitioner. So I thought, well, actually, surely I can help myself. Surely I can break free of these, the addictive nature that comes from the screens. And so what happened there was I started to trial some of these techniques on myself and on my children, non-intrusively, very much in a safe space. But what I realized is that once I became aware of my time and how I interacted with the screen, I was able to then change my behavior so that I was in control. And what I've found since then, and running this program and working with multiple sets of parents and children, is that we can all change our behavior. But by using the certain tools and techniques, we can actually understand and be in control of those screens and be in control of how we want to interact with them rather than them pulling us towards them. So they're very good at pulling us towards them and being locked in. So the idea of the course was to help parents, make them aware of what was happening so that they could then adopt those techniques themselves, but also then help introduce them to their children. So really at the end of it, kind of what we've done is we've created parent coaches at the end of our course, and they have some fabulous sort of NLP, what I call sort of Jedi mind trick techniques that they can use. And they do it in a sort of non-confrontational, non-aggressive. It's a really lovely way to introduce a different mindset, a different way of thinking for our children.
It can be a real big problem for so many people. And I like what you said about changing behavior as well. It does take consistency and being persistent and repetition, but we can definitely all change our behavior. What do you consider are the main issues concerning parents and children with screen addiction today?
I really think it's a breakdown, the entire breakdown of the family unit, and that's what majority of the parents sort of arrive or come to us at what we do at Rebel Therapies. So the parents come to us with the whole concept of I'm losing my child, or I've lost my child, in terms of they've lost that interaction and connectivity with their child. The relationship is broken. The children tend to then become so absorbed by looking at their screens. The levels of empathy drop, like sort of move away from the children, sort of get sucked out of them. So there is this tunnel vision where they're only focused on looking at a screen, and their whole ability to interact, to have that sort of that child sort of play-based lifestyle is being lost. And I think parents are beginning to really understand and see that now. But I think more so is the breakup of the family unit, and what was quite tight or could have been quite tight is now sort of fractured. And so people come to me regarding that as the underlying problem, over and above what kids are doing, which is just scrolling mindlessly, looking at screens. And so their level of interaction with other people is also decreasing. That causes us a lot of problems later on in life to be able to have a proper conversation, sit and talk to people, being able to empathize, being able to understand, being able to negotiate, being able to rationally solve problems. So there's a whole host of issues that are coming up from not just our children but our parents. I mean, it's not just the children that I'm talking about that are having issues there. It's the parents themselves.
Definitely. I think it's so important what we're doing, because so much technology now, and it's brilliant having all of this technology, but it's about moderation as well. I think it's so important because it can affect mental health as well. How does your Combat Screen Addiction course help these people?
So what we do in the course is it's really making them very much aware of what is actually happening to them. So we show you the impacts. We show you through the levels of behavioral science that is being used to create your levels of addiction. So it's the science that's used in the technology, which is trickled down actually from the gambling industry. So we have, the slot machines that you go to and you play at a casino, that is pretty much your phone. It encompasses all of that technology, and it's been tested and it's been tried and it works. And so the tech industry have utilized the underlying concepts around the gambling industry and have pushed that through to our phones. What our course does is it allows you to understand that, so much so that you become so aware of it that you can then make the conscious decision to how you want to utilize your screen, when you want to utilize your screen. We're very much, I love tech. I think tech's brilliant. But again, you mentioned about moderation. We need to understand how to moderate that, but we need to be in control. And what our course teaches you is to, one, be in control, and two, to be able to utilize the techniques and the concepts and the ideas that we show you in the course to be able to coach other people, specifically your children. And this works whether you're a teacher, a social worker, a guardian, a grandparent, an uncle, and auntie. So we've had multiple sets of people that have come to us, and we've run through the program, and it's worked every single time. So it's been a real powerful awakening for people that have come onto it, that have been really stuck in a certain place, and to be able to help themselves, but also help their children. And the change in relationship between the guardian, the parent, and the child has become so much stronger. It's been quite wonderful to see that.
Really powerful course. Could you give me an example of how you've helped someone on the course and how they are getting on now?
Yeah. One that really stands out for me is a lady came onto the course, and she has two daughters. One at the time was 11 and the other one was 13. One was hooked on social media, one was hooked on gaming. Both have been diagnosed as ADHD, and she just was lost. The lady, the mother, was lost. She just wanted help, and she came on the course saying, "I'm on this course. I'm not sure you're going to be able to help me, but I need to do something. I've tried everything." By the fourth session, so our course is split into 5 sessions over 5 weeks, and they're sort of 2 hours at each session. On the fourth session, that's when we introduced some real powerful techniques. So there's sort of NLP techniques that work really well. And what happened was that she was explaining that she didn't have a relationship with her daughters. Her daughters would just ignore her. Her 11-year-old, who was the worst in terms of screen addiction, was just on her game. She would not come off her computer, would be playing her game all the time, and it was causing real distress in the house, real problems, arguments, frustration, just not understanding each other. But we ran through a technique on the session live, and there were about 20 odd people on this particular course, and the others were watching. So I said to her, "Look, will you be my test example? Let's run through this technique." And we did. And at the end of the technique, when we went through this process, she was crying. The rest of the 19 people, the 20 people that were on the screen, they were crying. I was crying. And it was so emotional what she explained and what she went through. But the technique takes us through an entire looking at the situation in multiple ways to be able to change an outcome. So anyway, the course, that session finished, and everyone sort of went offline. and this was in the evening. About 2 hours later, I get a call from her, and she's crying. So I've answered the phone, and she's crying on the phone to me. And she said, "These are happy tears. I just wanted to let you know that the technique that you just taught me has allowed my daughter and I to sit," and we sat on the stairs for an hour and a half, and they just, for the first time they'd connected in 18 months. And she said they both sat there crying. They both sat there having the time, the space, the safe space to be able to talk and explain the importance. So that mother was telling her how much she cared about her and how much she wanted to re-engage with her, and the daughter was telling her about how important the game and playing the game was to her, and how it calmed her down. So what it was is they got to a place where they were like this, that with that conversation, they got to a place where they could talk to each other, and it's the first actual real conversation they had in 18 months. Since that was last year. Since then, their relationship has gone from strength to strength, and the level of gaming has dropped. They spend more time together. They do more things outdoors. They've got things planned, and life has just become so very much more different for them. And that's one that sort of sticks in my mind. It's just that the emotion that came out from it before, the emotion from her phone call, and then afterwards, working with her afterwards and seeing what's happened with her and her daughter has just been amazing.
I do love a success story. Why do you not just work with the child directly? Why include the parents?
I include the parents because the parents are the role models. We're the people that they actually look up to. And if we don't look at ourselves and adapt and change our own behavior to screens, how do we expect our children to? So we need to adopt the same mentality around how we connect with our tech and what that looks like. And we need to show our children what good looks like. And we need to sort of almost course correct, pull the right levers and course correct so that we're in a good space. And our children see that. They actually, they see it, right? That we are their role models, and that's really important. So that the parents themselves, nearly every single parent or every single person that's come on our course or on one of our classes, at the end of the first session has said, "That's actually me. You've just described me." And it is that we are so intertwined with our tech. It's frightening. So we work with the parents, we get the parents up to speed, and we create them as coaches. We give them these fabulous abilities that they can take away, and they can utilize that in the way that they live their lives and how they then interact with their children. And the change is fantastic.
Well done, brilliant stuff. And what do you think about the current conversations about banning smartphones for under 16-year-olds?
Yeah, so there's a big conversation here in the UK about that. I know that it's sort of worldwide. There's lots going on, and I think banning is a really tough thing to do. It has so many other implications around it. I think banning. I don't personally agree with it. I think there are other ways that we can educate, show what good looks like, help our young kids and teenagers understand how to interact with tech. But also for us, so the technology is not going away. It's becoming even more ever present in all of our lives, and especially in young people's lives. So I think by banning it, I think we're pushing the problem. I think we're taking away a whole host of sort of amazing capabilities that people can use, especially with tech. But by banning it, I think it's wrong. I think we need to look at how we restrict things. I think we can look at putting sort of, age restrictions, but there is so much more that these organizations, the tech organizations can do, and the phone companies can do to be able to restrict what is allowed on a smartphone, especially for young people. And it's something that I'm actually working on at the moment, in creating a device that our children will be able to utilize, that also protects them from putting social media on there at an age where it's not appropriate. So there's so much we can do, but by clearly just purely banning it, the impact is big. I mean, I asked my daughter what she thought of banning it, and she's 19 now. But she said, well, actually, there's a lot of kids that go to school that use the train system, use the bus system. And those apps, the real time when the bus is actually turning up, it's all on their phones.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
So there are certain things that for the benefit of our children, there are other things. There are real educational benefits as well to tech and utilizing it well.
Definitely.
So I just think that banning, for me, is a no-no. I don't buy into that at all.
I agree. Munur, I thoroughly have enjoyed having a conversation with you. Now, I know you have some amazing courses and a great website for people to connect with you. Just share a little bit who should connect with you and what's available there for people.
Yeah, so anyone that really wants to think about what does change look like, how screens are impacting them and their families, whether you're a teacher, a head teacher, or a social worker, or a foster carer, or a grandparent, auntie and uncle, whoever you are, by coming on our course and understanding what is available to you, what you can do, how you can help change your behavior to be in control. And that's in control firstly and foremostly for yourself, but then how you can help your teenagers and your younger children in showing them what good looks like with technology, and learning to do that, and then to also reclaim your family environment and your relationships with your children. That's kind of what we aspire to. We want to create more parent coaches and teacher coaches and and grandparent coaches, whoever you are. We want to give you as much as we possibly can, so that you have all the tools and techniques and strategies that you can help any of the people around you that you feel and that are being sort of impacted by the addictive nature of screens and how they pull you towards them. We want you to break free of that, break free of those chains, and be fully in control yourself, and learn to use tech in a very, very much a humane way.
I would encourage everyone, go to www.rebeltherapies.com. That's rebeltherapies.com, rebeltherapies.com. Munur, I thoroughly enjoyed having a conversation with you today. Thank you so much for being my guest.
Thank you very much, Mark. Really appreciate coming on with you and listening to me and about everything around screens. I really appreciate it.
The pleasure's been all mine. Thank you, everyone, for joining us for Brilliance Business TV, conversations with leading experts in business. Until next time, bye for now.